Welcome to our virtual edition of Parent to Parent. Today's topic, money management and your kids. Today we're going to look at teaching your kids how to manage their money. I know as adults some of us have a very hard time managing our own money, and I think that a lot of times that's because the foundation wasn't set when we were younger to understand how to save, how to spend, and how to give. And those are the three categories that we're going to teach our kids to separate their money into, and we're going to learn a little bit about that later. The reason we're starting with this in January is because this year we are trying to have a missions project each and every month for the children of Concord. And what we're going to do in those, sometimes we might be asking kids to give things up that they normally do and use that money to go towards something that we're doing as a big group. So in other words, to do that, what I wanted to give you guys a chance to do was to think about, teach them about giving their money and not you just handing them money to give towards the missions project, so that way they can really start to embrace what missions is all about. What age do you say is the appropriate age for kids to start learning about money? Actually, as soon as they can. There are preschool editions, there are elementary school editions, and there are high school editions of different resources on how to save money. But the earlier you start, the better. In a non-Christian article I was reading recently, it said that at age 7, most kids have already established what they think on spending and saving, regardless of how much money they're getting. They've already got a pattern established, and at 7 years old, they already have that going. So it's our job as parents to make sure, hopefully by that age, that we've already given them some guidelines and some things to go by. So let's go ahead and get into those. We're going to start with the basics of money management. Now, the first thing I know is a lot of y'all probably are of the mindset of, if my kid is doing things at home, they need to do things at home just because they need to do those things to live in the home. That they shouldn't get an allowance or commission for basic chores or activities or responsibilities that they are supposed to do. And I would agree with you on this. Kids do need to be doing things at home, but then also one way that we start teaching them about money is to give them either what is called, the two phrases that we're going to use are either their commission or their allowance. And that just depends on which type of resource you're using or how you want to teach your kids about it. But they'll either at the end of the week get a commission or an allowance. But the reason they get this is if they do specific chores or activities. So then the next thing you need to figure out is, what are the appropriate chores or activities for my child? Well, there are some links below, and on one of those links, it's a chore chart. This is a chart that I've compiled from various resources, just different ideas to get the ball rolling, give you some ideas on what chores can my kids do. It's broken down by age. Some of these, you might want to say, this is just a normal chore they do, and it's not going on the chore chart to earn commission. This is just something they should do. While other chores you may want to actually put on the chart and say, in other words, for you to get the commission, you're going to have to do these chores. Now, what you want to do is you want to think of a list of these chores and then come up with a format where you and your child go over the list, they understand the expectations, and then they can do the chores. Another thing you may want to do is put on some extras maybe at the bottom, which is things they can do that aren't on the normal list to earn extra money. So these are some things that you might want to think about when you make your list. So let's recap here. First, you got to figure out what chores or activities you want your kid to do to earn the commission. Next, you need to communicate it to them in a way that they understand. Whether it's you do chores 7 days a week and on the 7th day you get that money, or whether it's each day you do the chores and you get the money at the end of the day. The child needs to understand where you're coming from, and that way they can expect their commission or allowance at that certain time, and y'all can give it to them, and then they will separate that out. But first they need to understand what they need to do to get it, and then they also need to meet those expectations, obviously, to get it. Now, some things that you can or cannot do, some people have even got to the point, and some things I've read have said, if there are some misbehaviors or things they're doing, that could take their commission away. It's up to you if you're going to do that, but that's one school of thought. Most of these do not endorse anything like that, but if you think that's necessary, that is, in some resources I've read, it mentioned that. So they can also get the money taken away if they just are being totally out of control or irrational or whatever you deem the appropriate thing to take the money away that they have actually earned. So you establish the system, you establish the chores, the kid understands them, and then you move on to the breakdown of when you give them the money. All right, most Christian resources will tell you to break down the money into 3 categories once they receive it. So in other words, you're handing your child the allowance or commission, and then you say, look, we're going to go put these in 3 categories: spend, save, and give. And they're pretty self-explanatory. As far as the give, a lot of people will say that's what we're going to give to the church. So that's their offering. If you want to use 10% offering, or you can do it a different way, it's totally up to you. For instance, my son will get $7 a week. He's 7 years old. That's why we give him $7. And so out of that $7, we don't tell him 70 cents and we don't give him 10 pennies every week. You could, but we just tell him you give $1 in the give. Like that's the appropriate thing that we want you to give. And then we've talked a little bit about why. And these resources will help you explain biblically why we should be giving, why we should be saving, and why it's okay to spend. So all these resources right here, which we're going to talk about in a minute, we'll go over that. But your 3 categories are spend, save, and give. I will share with you a little bonus category that one of my friends when I was growing up had. It was actually someone I met when I was in college. He was fixing to go on a mission trip, and I said, man, how do you just have the money laying around to go on a mission trip? You know, it was like $1,000. And he said, well, my parents taught me this model, which was the spend, save, give model, but he said he also had another category, which was like his secondary give. So he had 2 give envelopes. One was what he gave to the church, and one was what he gave to missions all the time, which I recommend is a great way to keep your kid constantly thinking about missions, because what happens is, because he had that money saved up, not only did he use it to like support people who were going on mission trips, but then when he wanted to go, he had some money already set aside to put towards that trip. So it basically, that puts a 4th envelope in. Now, you don't have to use envelopes. If you get on Pinterest or Facebook or anything like that, or just Google spend, save, give images, you will see so many creative ways to make your jars. You can help them make their own. You can use piggy banks. You can use envelopes. It doesn't matter what you use, just that you're using something and that you stick to the rules of spend, save, and give. Okay? Now, of course, give is you give to the church or give to missions. Then spend is something they can have readily available to spend. And save, you want them to set a goal of the item they're saving towards, and do not let them touch that money until they get enough for that item, and then they purchase that item. That teaches them to put it away and make sure it stays put away and not to dip back into it and pull it out. Now, all these books go over great ways to teach your kids about these. Let's go right into resources now, because I think you have spend, save, give down, and these are some resources I just wanted to tell you about. I have all these in my office. If you want to come check them out at any time, you can come see them, but you can also purchase these. This first one is Financial Peace Junior. This is through Dave Ramsey. It's obviously just a younger version of Financial Peace. Let me show you what comes in this box. Right now, this box is $17.99 from CBD.com, which is Christian Book Distributors. I got this one at Lifeway. They don't carry it all the time, but they actually had it when I went over there a while back and got this, and I got this from the one here. So they do have this. Now, it has some handy envelopes. Spend, save, give. So those will work. This also comes with the Parent's Guide, which teaches you how to go over this book with your child. It has an activity book for them. This is definitely kind of geared towards a younger kid, I would say. Around 7 is probably a perfect age for something like this, or maybe even a little younger. As they get a little older, they might think this book's a little cheesy, so you may want to stick with not going over necessarily the book, but just teaching them the principles. Some other things that come in this kit. This is a chore chart labels that you can attach to this chore chart. Okay? This can go on your fridge. It also comes with some crayons, an audio book, and also a calculator, which obviously mine is gone by now since we've been calculating at home and things like that. But it comes with a little calculator as well. The other resource that we have, these are through Crown Financial, and these are separated by age group, a little younger and older. This is the ABCs of handling money God's Way. They have an adult book and a kid's book. And I'm going to show you just real quick. This is the children's book. So these are, when I open this book up, you're going to get a little flashback. This is age 5 to 7, and you can just see from some of the pictures, it's kind of a little old school. The principles are solid. The pictures are just a little old school. Okay, so this is 5 to 7, but these go over things like, let me give you the topics in this one. You got the wish, who owns the ball? Are you a steward working for the Lord? Giving, saving, the doll, which is obviously saving up for that. Debt, what is counsel? Honesty, meet your best friend, friends. So this is a good resource. If you want to use these, I have one each of the teacher guide and the learner book. So if you want to just come look at it before you bought it, these were around $10 or $12 a piece. And then this is as they get a little older. So this one's designed for 5 to 7-year-olds, and then this one is 8 to 12-year-olds. So these are both great resources, though. Really, you might want to just come check out all these resources from my office, figure out your plan, figure out your strategy, and start teaching your kids how to spend, save, and give. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. My email address is right there, or give me a call. This is my cell phone on there.